The story begins in a magical world shared by 9 races: dragonutes, elves, onus, dwarves, demons, dark elves, centaurs, beastfolk, and humans, from whom a young adventurer called Light was born, wanting to give his family a better life. Light says goodbye to his hometown and leaves to explore for money and power. After reaching a big city, Light gets shoved around by the crowd, but continues searching for the Adventurers Guild. He enters the guild and introduces himself to the receptionist, who asks if he wants to register as a fresh adventurer. As he nods, she explains that he'll start from the lowest F rank and asks if he has a special ability. Light says that he has an unlimited gacha ability, which allows him to roll for random cards and summon them. After he summons a broken fork in front of her, the receptionist is left speechless. Embarrassed, Light tries acting like silverware isn't the only thing he can summon, but his next rolls just give him a bunch of rotten snacks. Light is disappointed that his luck decided to betray him at the worst moment, and the receptionist confirms that he deserves the pathetic F rank. After receiving his adventurer's card, he asks her for some quests, and she tells him to search on the guild's job board. At the mention of job posts, Light feels awkward, and the receptionist realizes that he can't read the board, feeling sad for her uneducated fellow human. She reads out the job posts for him, feeling excited to earn some real money. Light happily accepts the boring tasks. After a day of hard work, he finally gets enough money to rent a room. However, a gang of beastfolk knocks him down and starts bullying him. As their leader picks up his money, Light begs him to have mercy on him, but the cruel wolfman knocks him back with a hard uppercut. The wolfman taunts Light for begging for spare change and coldly leaves with his laughing gang. Even the crowd ignores Light while he's on the ground, until a kind elf helps him up. Light gets surprised by all the adventurers surrounding him, and he backs down in shock. Seeing how frightened he is, the elf hugs Light to comfort him, while the passerbys mock her. As Light is shocked that a pretty elf got dirty for his sake, she helps him stand up. The adventurers introduce themselves as members of the Concord of Tribes. A beastman named Garu explains that each member represents one of the 9 races, and the elf introduces herself as Sasha. She introduces Drago, Diablo, Oboro, Nano, Sion, and Santor, completing 8 of the 9 races. Light learns that the Concord is searching for a human race to show the unity of all people in their world. As Garu reaches out his hand to invite him, Light feels stunned that someone needs his help, then happily accepting his invitation. Soon, Light starts exploring a cave dungeon called the Abyss with his new group. A huge worm beast tries to attack him, but Garu chops it apart before it can hurt Light. Another worm sneaks up on Light from behind, so Sasha takes it down with her bow. She scolds Light for being so careless, reminding him that they're exploring the world's most dangerous dungeon. Sasha warns him that he could die easily in this place. She sits down and takes care of his wounds. Noticing her acting like his mommy, the other party members start teasing Sasha for spoiling Light so much. While blushing like a tomato, Sasha acts like she totally doesn't love Light and claims that she's just trying to protect a fellow group member. As the party members ignore her weak excuse, Sasha gets more defensive. However, Drago steps in and cheers up Light, saying that he makes excellent tea for their team. With his motivation, the group heads deeper into the dungeon. As the group stops at a dead end, Drago stops them. Light thinks they're going to take a break, so he starts preparing some tea for them. However, Drago tells him that they don't need the tea since they're kicking Light out of their party. Light thinks it's some kind of prank, but Drago harshly repeats his words. As Light remains stunned, Garu also tells him that he's out, so Light asks him why they're dumping him. Garu tells Light that their group doesn't need him, and Sasha feels disgusted by his foolishness. Even Sion and Nano start mocking Light for being so pathetic, while the demons are relieved that they can finally get rid of him. Light asks why they're being so cruel to him after all the kindness they showed him earlier. Garu reveals that they were just faking their kindness to make him join their party. Light wonders why their powerful party needed him, and Drago says that it's because of his special ability. He explains that they recruited Light in hopes that he'd be an overpowered maestro, but his ability is just too trash. Light points out that his unlimited gacha ability was never useful, and Garu agrees with him. He mocks Light for being a talentless human, so his party doesn't need his dead weight anymore, knowing he was a failure all alone. Sion wonders why it took her friends so long to dump him. Meanwhile, Sasha feels relieved that she can marry her master instead of ending up with the pathetic human kid. As Light feels overwhelmed by this shocking information, Drago decides to finish the job with him. After he tells Garu to clean up Light, he finally realizes the danger he's in. Watching their hostile stares, Light learns that his party will finish him to avoid him getting stronger later and trying to take revenge. Garu draws his claws and swipes at Light's cheek, who looks at the blood flowing from the cut. As the party members coldly looks on, Light runs away screaming. Garu tells him that the abyss monsters will have him for brunch. However, Sasha shoots an arrow at his leg to prevent him from escaping. Struggling in pain, Light collapses from the hit it, and Garou takes pleasure in his suffering. He steps up and kicks Light hard in the stomach, knocking him down again. He starts beating the crap out of Light, but Sasha stops him. She reminds him that they need to make Light's disappearance look like an accident. So Garou raises his claw for a final strike. Seeing his end approaching, Light crawls on the ground, wanting to continue living. Garou feels excited to watch him struggle so hard, as the weak boy tries to survive in the face of certain death. Suddenly, Light's hand presses on a teleportation trap, and Drago tells Garou to end him before it activates. However, it safely teleports Light away before the beastman can reach him. Afterward, Light wakes up elsewhere in the dungeon, still suffering from heavy injuries. He thinks that any random monster will eat him even if he survives a bit longer. As the harsh chill of the cave reminds Light of his loving family, he starts crying. Light recalls how kind the Concord was after their first meeting, and wonders why they turned out so cruel. Thinking about their cold expressions after taking him to the dead end, Light feels angered by their betrayal. He feels confused by the powerful masters and Concord's higher-ups, wondering how he got involved with such crazy people. His confusion turns into fury as he vows revenge. Light gets up, determined to cut down all of them, but feels a cold gaze staring at his back. He turns around and sees a level 1 Orthus beast stalking him. Light wonders what such a broken monster is doing here and realizes that the trap teleported him to the deepest level of the abyss. As the Orthus approaches him, Light thinks about an escape. He starts desperately spamming his unlimited gacha ability, praying to get a miracle. With a final frantic press, Light summons a huge magic circle. He stares in disbelief as the gacha device releases a powerful aura, summoning an ancient fairy. Recognizing Light as her master, the mysterious fairy chops up the monster like an onion. The monster's shattered remains fall down, and the fairy lands gracefully to the ground. In front of Light's shocked eyes, she clears up the mess with a flick of her hands before turning around. The fairy walks towards Light and humbly kneels down, before healing all his wounds with magic. She apologizes to Light for healing him without permission since she couldn't bear seeing him injured. Light introduces himself, feeling disbelief that he just rolled the most overpowered fairy in the world. The fairy falls in love with his name and starts repeating it, before swearing her complete loyalty to him. Not knowing her identity, Light awkwardly asks for her name, so she reveals that she's the level 9999 ever-seeking maid called May. May explains that she's a super ultra rare card from Light's gacha. Light says that the gacha only produces junk, thinking there's no way he pulled a powerful baddie like her. May thinks he completely deserves her and begs her to accept him. Seeing her pitiful face, Light finally agrees, and May thanks him for his favor. She then asks Light to examine his gacha ability, and he feels surprised that she has the appraisal skill. May tells him that it's just one of her abilities before asking for his permission again. Once Light agrees, May's eye starts glowing as she examines him. Seeing that the gacha provides him with layers of secret protection, May feels impressed by his powerful ability. She explains that the gacha seemed useless because Light was previously in areas with no mana. However, in the supercharged abyss, the gacha absorbed the mana around him and boosted his chances of getting a rare card. She explains all the unlimited gacha card ranks from the highest extra rank and super ultra rare down to normal and error. Light still doesn't understand, so May tells him that on the surface, he could never get any good pulls because of the scarce mana around them. She praises Light for figuring out the gacha's power and entering the abyss to boost his chances of a rare pull. However, May notes that it was incredibly dangerous for him to venture out on his own, and he points out that she's wrong. Light reveals that he entered the abyss with his party, but they betrayed him and tortured his body. Thinking about their cruel abuse and taunting, he starts crying while telling May about his story. Light recalls how his old group mocked him for being a pathetic human. He complains about their cruel taunts, saying he was just trying to earn an honest living for his family. May watches as he vents his feelings, completely devastated by the party's brutal betrayal. Finally, Light falls on his knees from the pain, saying that he'll never forgive the cruel beasts for hurting him. He clutches the arrow from his leg while shedding tears, and May silently hugs him. In her warm embrace, Light calms down and stops crying. May tells him that she can never understand the depths of his suffering, but she'll use all her power to give the Concord their deserved retribution. As Light looks at her in shock, May swears to have all of them lined up in front of him in an instant. As he stops her and gets up, May thinks that he's being too kind for his own good. She tells him not to be so merciful, but Light tells her that he ended up in this situation because of his own weakness. He tells May that he doesn't want to abuse her power for revenge, vowing to get stronger and punish the Concord with his own two hands. Light thinks that May won't believe his unrealistic fantasies, but she promises to support his goal with zero hesitation. After May tells him that she has complete faith in his abilities, Light smiles in joy. She returns his smile before Light uses his gacha to summon another overpowered tool in the abyss. May watches faithfully day as Light begins building his empire. Fueled by the Abyss's infinite mana, giant magic circles surround Light, summoning the ultimate tools for his quest for power. After 3 years of hard work, Light has built a lavish kingdom with all his new fairies. As he walks through his castle halls, all maids submissively greet him, hoping to get some special attention. Annoyed by their creepy stares, May asks Light if she should silence the noisy fairies. Light doesn't mind it, since he thinks they're just showing their love for him. After leaving the castle, Light walks through town, where all the shopkeepers greet him with friendly words. As the shopkeepers ask Light to replenish their supplies, May makes a mental note to solve their problems later. Then, Light asks her what his other fairies are doing, so May informs him that a fairy called Aoyuki is exploring the abyss. Satisfied, Light thinks that Aoyuki should be fine in the abyss as the genius tamer. Then, he asks about the researcher fairy, called Ellie, and learns that she's developing magic spells to increase his power. Light feels guilty since he's making Ellie work really hard for him, and asks May what their fighter called Nazuna is doing. May feels upset that Nazuna is just patrolling the castle's interior, even though her fighting abilities are very high. However, Light thinks she's perfect for the job, walking around with her cheerful personality. Afterward, Light returns to the castle, where his final 999 level hero, named Jack, greets him with his first name. This angers May, who reminds Jack to be respectful to their master. Light tells her he doesn't mind what Jack calls him and leaves to train with him in the dungeon. After warning him that he won't hold back, Light prepares to charge at Jack, who is ready to take him on. He rushes with ultra speed and punches Jack's stomach, which knocks him a few meters back. Knowing that only his body is strong enough to withstand Light's attack, Jack feels surprised by his power. He also attacks Light, and the two of them begin a fierce battle. Meanwhile, Nazuna continues walking in the safe castle halls, acting like she's protecting the maids from dangerous criminals. As Nazuna tells the maids she's doing a very important mission for Light, they praise her like a spoiled child. As Nazuna gets a big head from all their praise, the maids ask her where she's going next. She tells them she hasn't decided yet, so they ask her to patrol a secret place for them. Wondering what kind of place it is, Nazuna agrees to help them. Soon, she knocks on the door to Light's bedroom, where May comes out. She asks Nazuna if she needs something, so Nazuna tells her that she's patrolling the area. May tells her that she doesn't need her security in the bedroom, but Nazuna gets curious about what she's doing. She asks May why she's in Light's bedroom when he's out fighting Jack, and May acts like she's just cleaning the room. However, Nazuna ignores May's yapping and walks straight into the room. Noticing the messy bed, she thinks that May rolls around in it and sniffs Light's smell like a pervert. To protect her dignity, May tells Nazuna that it's just a secret cleaning technique, and the airheaded knight easily believes her fake story. As May feels relieved that Nazuna isn't the sharpest crayon in the box, she starts fumbling around her armor to find a message from the maids. After finding the letter, she reads it out, informing May that all the other maids are angry at her for hogging Light's room. As Nazuna reads the final part of the message, she wonders why all the maids are cursing May. The innocent Nazuna thinks that they're cursing her to help her develop an immunity, and May tells her she'll deal with the maids herself. Then, she gives Nazuna some money for delivering the message, and she happily accepts and leaves. Afterward, Nazuna goes to the market and grabs a bunch of tasty sweets to eat. While eating, she finds Aoyuki sitting on a balcony. After learning that Aoyuki is done with her exploration, Nazuna warns her that she won't share her food. Since Aoyuki keeps meowing in response, Nazuna feels confused. She wonders what the cat girl is saying and tries to guess that she got into some trouble in the forest. As Nazuna offers to help her clear the obstacles, Aoyuki gets annoyed and reveals that she has already finished making a map of the whole area. This surprises Nazuna, who starts cheerfully hitting the girl and scolds her for not explaining earlier. Then, she heads back to start goofing around again, leaving Aoyuki exhausted. Nazuna heads into the palace's throne room and makes sure that nobody is watching. She climbs onto Light's empty throne, feeling sad that he's not around to see her. However, her careless movements break off a piece of the throne, and Nazuna quietly puts it back before teleporting out of the room. Back in the dungeon, Light and Jack match blows a final time. Jack tells him they should call it off and get some rest, and Light agrees. Once they're in the hot bath, Jack praises Light for mastering his power. Light credits Jack's teaching, but Jack, confident that few can match him in the palace, warns Light not to get overconfident. There might still be someone on the surface strong enough to challenge him. Light nods in agreement, promising that he'll never underestimate his opponents while getting his revenge. Meanwhile, in May's office, all the fairy maids stand nervously while awaiting her orders. May asks her if they know why they're in trouble, and the maids try to act innocent. As May reads the contents of their letter out loud, they get terrified of her and back down into the walls. She asks the maids what they meant by their letter, and they say that they were just trying to reduce her burden. However, May points out that they cursed her 3 times at the end. which leaves them speechless. She also scolds the maids for using Nizuna as their scapegoat, and they all start whispering among themselves. Then, May heads back to her chair and announces that she's rejecting their appeal. Before ordering them to clean the long hallway leading to the throne room, the maids accept their punishment. But when May tells them they'll have to do everything with their bare hands, they feel completely stunned. The maids protest against the punishment, but May says that since she's heading back to the surface, they need to cover up in her absence. In town, Nizuna greedily stares at some cool armor. Ellie approaches her, feeling surprised that the castle guard is wandering around. She asks if Nizuna wants some candy, but the knight points to the armor. She asks Ellie about her research, and Ellie explains that she's heading back since her work is finished. Ellie thinks that Nizuna is an idiot since she couldn't figure this out on her own, but Nizuna disagrees, to prove her wrong. Nizuna says that 1 times 3 is 4. Ellie mocks her being dumber than a starfish, so Nizuna counters that only dumb people insult other people's intelligence. However, Ellie starts bragging about having tea with Light, thinking that he'll invite her to his bedroom next. This makes Nizuna jealous, who also wants to have some tea with her master. Back in the maid's room, they get angry at May's punishment. One of them wonders how to get rid of their annoying leader and suggests they should poison her. After her partner reminds her that May is immune to poison, they all fall silent, wondering what to do. Frustrated that she can't clean Light's room, the lead maid starts complaining once again. Her friends agree, wanting to sniff his scent like May. Their creepy friend fantasizes about licking Light's used spoon, and they all call her a freak. However, she calls them out for having the same desires, and the hypocrites shamelessly agree that they'd do the same. Then, the maids think about May being the first fairy that Light summoned, remembering that it took him 3 more months to summon Aoyuki. They wonder if May did some freaky stuff while she was alone with Light. At this realization, all the maids start crying that they didn't get the chance to fulfill their desires with their master, and decide to curse May for all eternity. However, as they begin their joint cursing session, May enters the room. Silencing them all, the maids ask her why she isn't outside doing her mission, and May explains that she was just on her way out when she heard them praying for her. She walks into the room, asking why they were cursing her. Feeling terrified of her power, all of them start swearing their undying loyalty to her one by one. However, May repeats their curses, which silences them again. Finally, one of the maids confesses that they were just jealous of all the extra time she got to spend with Light. May tells them that in the 3 months she spent with Light alone, she only educated him and trained him for combat. After explaining that she never did anything freaky with him, May says that she returned since she felt that her punishment was too harsh. However, after hearing the maid's ungrateful curses, she thinks that she made the right decision. May doubles down and increases their punishment to include the throne room as well. The maids pitifully beg her to have mercy, as May reminds them that they have the free time to curse her in their room. The maids finally accept their fate. After receiving their punishment, the maids quickly head out to clean the throne room, still complaining they didn't do anything wrong. They wonder if they can even finish cleaning before the next day. Suddenly, the creepy maid touches the part that Nizuna broke, and it cracks and falls down in front of their horrified eyes. Meanwhile, Nazuka lies down on her bed to have a good night's sleep, unaware that she has just doomed all the maids to purgatory. Feeling sad that she didn't get to see Light, she wonders why he doesn't just send her to the surface to clean up the guys who hurt him. After venting her emotions, Nizuna closes her eyes to sleep. The next day, as Light walks out to enter the dungeon, he hears Ellie arguing with Nizuna. When he opens the entrance, Nizuna rushes to greet him, thinking that her wish from bedtime was granted. Ellie thinks there's no way Light would care about her, while Aoyuki approaches him like a cat. As he starts scratching her chin, the other girls feel jealous that she's getting so much special attention. Ellie invites Light to her bedroom, but he ignores her and tells the girls he's got some business in the dungeon. Suddenly, a hellhound beast approaches the group, making Light tremble in stress. As he recalls the first time seeing this beast, Light feels traumatized. While all the maids get dead serious, Nizuna warns the beast that she'll turn it into a bunch of sausages for hurting her master. While Ellie thinks they need to make its species extinct, even Aoyuki agrees to eliminating every single hellhound from the world, and the beast starts whimpering like a dog in front of their pressure. Light tells the girls to back off since he's fine and approaches the hellhound. Knowing the girls really would have erased its bloodline, he pets the dog, while Ellie asks him what he came for. At her words, Light remembers that May has given him news that their first prey is ready. All the girls get excited, ready to help their master. Light steps out, preparing to start his revenge with the first of the 8 ruthless Concords who betrayed him. Meanwhile, in Garu's hometown, the villagers shamelessly bootlick him to get into his good books. While arrogantly striding through town, Garu notices a poor human trying to scavenge some trash, and he kicks him down just for fun. Then, he heads to a tavern and orders a feast with his lackeys, who praise him for rising through the ranks ranks as an orphan and boosting their wolf tribe's status. Garou thinks that he became strong due to his natural sense of perception as a beastman, but his lackeys point out that his sense of perception is the strongest among them. Agreeing with their point, Garou admits that he can always sense which missions have the best rewards, so he's always able to make quick money. Curious, the lackeys ask him how much money he got from hunting Light from 3 years ago, but he says that it was a secret mission from the Federation, so he can't talk about it. Thinking back, Garou feels like slaying Light was the easiest job ever. He thinks that even though Light teleported away, there was no way he survived the dangerous abyss afterward. However, as he remembers that all the countries in their world are looking for a maestro, he wonders why they're so important. Suddenly, his tail shivers from a sense of danger, and Garou decides not to think about deep secrets too much. As his lackeys continue ordering drinks without a care, May interrupts their chatting. When she tries talking to Garou, his lackeys start screaming at her for talking to their master without permission. He silences them and asks May what she wants, so she introduces herself as Light's first maid. At his mention, Garou is shocked, and she tells him that she's been searching for her missing master. May explains that Light is actually from a noble family, and his family has been searching for him. Garou refuses to believe that a harmless wimp like Light could be from a noble family, but after May insists, he decides to listen to her. While he is excited to make money, May sheds tears, saying that her master might have perished in the treacherous abyss. In front of everyone's shocked eyes, she offers a briefcase full of pure gold if Garou helps her see the place where Light was last seen. Still feeling like it's a trap, Garou accepts the job since he thinks May can't threaten him as a human. On the surface, he acts like Light was a brother from his party, and he would help see him even without the money. Shedding tears, May thanks Garou for his generous offer. A month later, he takes May to the abyss. Once they finally reach the dungeon, May sweats hard, looking exhausted from all the travel. As Garou looks back at her, he feels a malicious hunger to complete the mission and use May's weakened body to his advantage at her master's grave. Once they finally reach the spot where the Concord betrayed Light, Garou tells May that it's where he lost his friend to a monster. As she falls to her knees in despair, Garou apologizes for his party's carelessness that led to the loss of their friend. He silently signals to his minions, who block the exit to the cave. While Garou thinks he's going to have a great time with the foolish girl, suddenly, May's voice turns cold. She says that it's a pity her master was brought to a dangerous dungeon, only to be betrayed by the scum party members. Hearing her cold words, a chill runs down Garou's spine, and he backs up in caution. While his lackeys look on in confusion, Garou realizes that May is setting up a trap for him, since nobody knows what happened to Light except the Concord and their higher-ups. Thinking she's a spy from another country, Garou asks for May's identity. She scoffs, saying that she is only loyal to her master, Light. After declaring that she'll make Garou pay for his crimes, May looks back with a fierce glare that leaves him paralyzed with fear, thinking that human women are just pieces of meat to use. Garou feels shocked that May has the power to threaten him, as May stares at him like he's a piece of trash. Garou thinks he's dead. However, a hooded figure suddenly appears and stops her before she can take any action, as Light announces that he'll take revenge on Garou himself. Garou's minions start mocking him for threatening them as a pathetic human. Watching in horror, Garou is speechless as Light removes his hood to reveal his face. He smiles and waves at Garou's pack, while the minions wonder who he is, knowing that Light is only level 15. Garou starts laughing at his ideas of taking revenge on a level 150 monster like him. Unamused, Light watches as Garou threatens to use his corpse as a stepping stone for his achievements. However, Light points out that instead of carelessly threatening him, Garou should have been more cautious and asked how he survived the terrifying abyss. Garou agrees, but thinks that he can't threaten him even with May's help. Thinking that Light got lucky to meet her, he feels confident that they can't survive against his pack of level 130 minions. As Light agrees with Garou, his minions rush to attack him. Suddenly, a pile of limbs flies into the air after May effortlessly chops up the dogs, after declaring that anyone who threatens her master will be turned into dog food. May guards the dungeon's exit to prevent Garou from escaping. While his remaining minions start panicking, Garou tells them that May only used a sneak attack to catch them off guard, pointing out that humans can be way stronger than his imagination. Light mocks Garou for being so delusional. However, Garou arrogantly refuses to accept reality and says that he'll show Light the true power of beastmen. Light grows silent, thinking about the discrimination humans have to face because of their weakness. Garou thinks it's only natural that other races are superior, but Light reminds him that his maid just dismembered his minions. Garou says that she must have cheated with a magic item and charges at Light to shut him up. However, Light easily knocks all of them back with his staff. On the ground, Garou struggles to regain his bearings as Light walks up to him and mocks him for losing so easily. Feeling his pride hurt, Garou gets up and jumps back, and prepares prepares to teach him a lesson with his ultimate power. He uses a magic crystal to summon a powerful level 500 Fenrir, but Light remains unimpressed while facing the magic beast. Seeing him so calm, Garou thinks that Light has lost his mind from fear. He taunts Light to get on his knees and beg for his life, but Light tells him he'll remain standing in the same spot to let his Fenrir attack. Angered by his taunt, Garou orders his beast to attack, and it starts charging a powerful spell. With a loud roar, the Fenrir unleashes a magic beam at Light, who remains standing on the spot. As the smoke clears, Garou feels confident that his monster vaporized Light. However, his jaw drops after Light appears completely unharmed from the blast. Light mocks Garou's Fenrir for just kicking up a bunch of dust in the air, while the beastmen stare in complete horror. As Garou realizes just how much trouble he's in, Light tells him that he'll show him a real Fenrir this time. He brings out an ultra-rare card that summons a level 9000 Fenrir Emperor, which completely dwarfs Garou's pathetic dog. At Light's order, his Fenrir blows some soft air, which flies towards Garou's Fenrir and freezes its entire body. The ice shatters in front of the beastmen, obliterating the fake Fenrir and any hints of Garou's remaining pride. Whimpering like a puppy, Garou asks Light if the powerful Fenrir was his trump card, but Light tells him that he could have easily defeated the Fenrir himself. He finally reveals his true level of 9999, leaving Garou trembling in fear. As his minions whisper that humans can only reach level 100, Garou thinks that Light is an imposter from another race acting as a human, pointing out that Light still has the body of a child. He says that any human would have grown in 3 years. Light reveals that he is wearing a bracelet of youth that stops him from aging, so he can always remind himself of the pain he suffered 3 years ago. Watching Light's cold eyes, Garou finally believes that he's the real person from 3 years back. Knowing he can't do anything against him power, Garou decides to grovel and beg for his life. He tells Light that he was only acting on someone's orders all those years ago, and blames his minions for trying to attack May. His enraged minions scream at him for throwing them under the bus, but Garou ignores them and asks Light for mercy. Light asks him who the maestros are, and Garou says that the Federation ordered him and the others to search for them. As Light asks why they're searching for maestros, Garou explains that he wasn't told the reason. Then, Light demands to know why they tried to dispose of him after making sure he wasn't a maestro, and Garou remains silent once again. He swears he truly doesn't know anything, but his minions claim that they have some information to save their lives. However, May cuts them all to pieces for lying. Then Light turns his attention to Garou, saying he has one more question. He asks Garou if he could win a war against all the races with his power, but before Garou can answer, Light reminds him that May can see through lies with her Eye of Truth skill. Terrified, Garou admits that even with his overwhelming stats, he couldn't defeat all 9 races alone, as they've spent hundreds of years stockpiling weapons, armor, and magical items. At his answer, Light nods, agreeing that a single person can't take on the entire world, even if they reach level 9999. This leaves Garou confused, and Light tells him that he has some more questions for him once they arrive at his base. He uses a teleportation card that surrounds them all and takes them away, leaving the dungeon floor as a bloodied mess. After opening his eyes, Garou looks around to find himself surrounded by powerful figures everywhere. All of the powerful beasts, maids, and soldiers pay their respects to Light as he walks forward to his throne. After Light ascended the stairs and sat on his throne, Light told his servants to stand straight and show their stats. All of the servants release their auras, with everyone over thousands of levels, each beyond Garou's comprehension. Even the lowest guards are at level 1500, while Light's leading maids are all maxed out at 9999. He tells Garou that these are all his soldiers that he has prepared in the last 3 years, asking if the forces are enough to defeat all the kingdoms on the surface. As Garou struggles to keep his sanity, Light repeats his question, but he gets his answer from the absolute horror on the beastman's face. He smiles and tells Garou that this overwhelming despair is his punishment for what he did, while Garou thinks that he can obliterate the world at the drop of a hat. With tears in his eyes, he thinks that Light is the strongest person in the world, and even thinks that he's like a deity. As Light notices his expression, Garou asks him if he's trying to become a god. Gripping his staff, Light says that he thinks it's a good idea. In his eyes, the people who tried to hurt him are all hiding something from him, so he thinks he'll become godlike if that's what he needs to get his answers. Light summons his gacha gift, saying it gives him the power to control the world, and declares that he will judge if the world deserves punishment based on the answers it gives him. With his empire ready to fight, he orders his soldiers to head out of the abyss, beginning their war march against the 9 races. The next day, the first thing Light does after going to the surface is visit his hometown. Light eagerly runs to greet his family, but everyone is horrified to see the entire village razed to the ground by an evil party. After this traumatic setback, Light makes a spiritual grave for his departed family. As he pays his respects to everyone, Light is grateful that he didn't find his siblings' bodies, so they might still be alive. Behind him, a knight called Gold tells him to hurry up since he doesn't have all day to cry for him. Nemumu gets offended by Gold's insensitive comments on their master. While the two of them bicker, Light wonders if they like each other, or are genuinely just arch nemesis. Meanwhile, Gold points out that being too polite can look fake, and nobody wants to sleep out in the open grass fields. However, Nemumu is totally ready to spend time with Light wherever he goes. Her determination hurts Gold's pride, who also declares that he'd follow his master to the deepest pits of the underworld since he has sworn complete loyalty to him. Still, he doesn't feel like sleeping in the open, and Light breaks their conversation, reminding them that they need to find out who destroyed his village. He thinks that although their military power is enough to defeat all of the 9 races combined, they shouldn't act until they've learned more about the hidden strengths of the other nations. In Light's mind, the destruction of his village is also related to the hidden powers of the world, who are interested in his master's status. Angered by the loss of his parents, Light releases a bloodthirsty aura, but Gold reminds him to keep it in check. He agrees and puts on a fool's mask accessory to hide his identity, promising his parents that he'll avenge them. Once they're done with preparations, the trio starts flying towards the city of Dagas. On their way, Nemumu accidentally calls Light by his real name, so Gold reminds her that she should call him Dark to hide his real identity from the 9 races. Light thinks that he should raise his adventurer rank as Dark in order to get more secret intel from the guild. His 2 servants agree with his plan, and they soon spot the city of Dagas. In order to avoid making a scene, they land on the ground and walk the rest of the way on foot. However, they encounter a group of bandits mugging a poor merchant and his son. The bandits immediately notice the shining Gold Knight staring at their faces and instantly call him out. Nemumu gets angry at Gold for causing trouble, but he laughs and easily ties up the bandits. Overjoyed to be saved, the merchant thanks Light and his party by allowing them to ride his carriage to Dagas. While they ride, the merchant's son praises Gold and Nemumu for defeating the dwarves so easily, but she tells him that their master is even cooler than they are. Meanwhile, the merchant feels curious if Light's party is an experienced group that will explore the Dagas dungeon, since it's the city's specialty. Light tells him that they're not registered yet. The man is shocked to hear this and offers them some information on the world's countries. It turns out that Dagas is a town on the Dwarven Kingdom's southern border, which is next to the Human Kingdom to the east and the Elven Kingdom to the south. Although all 3 kingdoms have had beef in the past, the Dagas dungeon has some great loot which has attracted adventurers from all over the region. As the merchant finishes his explanation, they reach the Dagas gate, and Light's party gets off to walk the rest of the distance. Before leaving, the merchant introduces himself as Colonel and invites their party to stay the night in his inn if they need a place. Meanwhile, they start heading to the Adventurers Guild, noticing all the dwarven blacksmith shops on the way. Once they enter the guild, Light's party feels surprised by all the people there, but everyone else starts avoiding them like the plague. Light realizes that humans like him are treated poorly in this city as well, but he decides to register anyway. The guild receptionist starts him off at an F rank, which completely pisses off Nemumu. She starts yelling at the poor receptionist to give her master an S rank, but the receptionist reminds her that everyone has to start off at the lowest rank. Thankfully, Light steps in and accepts his ranking before Nemumu can embarrass herself even further. Once they're finished with the registration, she starts crying because she made her master look bad in public. Gold rubs even more salt in her wounds, so Light stops him from bullying her. Afterward, they head to Colonel's inn to get some rooms. His son happily leads the group to his father, who asks if he can do them any favors. Light asks Colonel if he can rent out the entire top floor of his inn for complete privacy, even from the staff, as payment. He offers Colonel a huge bag of gold, but he refuses to take money from somebody who saved his life. However, Light insists, so Colonel accepts his generous payment and agrees to arrange the top floor for him. Once Light is in the top room, he casts a bunch of magic spells to isolate his space from the outside world for complete privacy. As he stretches freely in his chair, Nemumu asks him if it's truly safe for Light to explore the surface while exposing himself. She thinks that he should just stay in the safe fortress of the abyss and let them handle the work on the surface. But Light stops her. He asks Nemumu if she's going to stop him from personally taking revenge and gets up in rage. Feeling his anger, she realizes she has committed a grave mistake and instantly drops to her knees to apologize. While Light coldly glares at Nemumu, Gold breaks the tension in the room with his charming laugh. It breaks Light's rage as well, and he gets down to comfort Nemumu. However, she still thinks that she has gone too far as his servant, so she decides to retake her pledge of loyalty as an apology. Nemumu gets down to kiss her master's feet, and Light silently allows her, feeling embarrassed by the unnecessary ritual. Watching her get into it, Gold wonders if Nemumu is secretly enjoying licking his feet, which which ruins the atmosphere even more. The next day, the group starts heading out to the Dogga's dungeon. As everyone around him notices the strange mask, Light realizes that his disguise isn't perfect. Unfortunately, they're too late to enter first, so they have to wait in line like a bunch of peasants. Gold notices that there aren't many elves in line, so Light points out that the Elven Kingdom has been at war with the dwarves over this dungeon, so tensions are high. Nimemu praises her Light's brilliant detective skills, but he asks her if it's appropriate to press her chest against his back, as she says that it's absolutely necessary to protect his rear. A shady bunch of adventurers cuts in line in front of them. Watching the three hooded figures, Light deduces that two of them are a couple of chumps, but their big leader is a serious threat. Even some of the other adventurers consider calling them out for cutting in line. Light gets in front and asks them to get back in line politely. The elf leader gets offended and asks Light if he knows who he's talking to. Naturally, Light points out that he doesn't know them since they're literally hiding their faces under their hoods. He also notes that if he's someone of high status, he shouldn't be doing shady activities that would ruin his family name. Backing their master, Gold and Nimemu also tell the adventurer to get out of the way, but the elf thinks that they're just a bunch of insects. Before he can unsheath his greatsword, his partner stops him, reminding him not to make a scene. When the hooded elf finally gives up and leaves, the rest of the adventurers thank Light's party for removing him. The party in front of Light apologizes for being unable to stand up to them, but Light says he just got rid of the trouble for everyone. They feel a bit better from his comfort, before one of them curiously asks if Gold's armor is truly made out of gold. The party leader silences his blabbermouth member, but it's already too late, as Nimemu explains that his armor isn't actually made of gold, since gold is too soft to make strong armor, but Gold doesn't mind using just the color. Then, the kids ask Light if it's his first time entering the dungeon, and he confirms it. The kid isn't surprised since everyone else brings lots of camping supplies for the long trips into the dungeon. Since Light's party is the only one looking underprepared, he figured out that they're new here. Once it's his party's turn, the kids say goodbyes and enters the dungeon, while Light's party realizes that they should take out some of their resources from their magic item box just to avoid suspicion later. Soon, it's Light's turn, and they head inside the massive dungeon. Nimemu is impressed by the dungeon's massive size, wondering how they can all turn out so different while following the same concept. Light notes that they need to access the dungeon's core to find out its secrets, but even Ellie, the researcher, can't pull it off. Gold thinks that there's no way they can do anything with Nimemu tagging along, so Light reminds him that he's also useless for the task. As they head deeper into the dungeon, the concentration of mana grows stronger, and the dark, cold prison area shifts into a vibrant, thriving world full of life. Gold appreciates the exotic wildlife, while Nimemu notices that there aren't any people snooping around their location. To begin their exploration, Light quickly casts some conceal and buff spells on his party. With the help of his buffs, they begin flying around the dense forest. Meanwhile, in the ground, the arrogant elf from before faces off against some powerful orcs surrounding him. Thinking about the humiliation from Light's party, the elf from before, called Kaido, rips apart the beasts one by one. He screams that he deserves better treatment. He's the youngest white knight in the elf kingdom and the descendant of a legendary hero. His servant, called Yanak, stops him from his pointless rampage, reminding him that their target is the third, not the first floor. However, Kaido points his sword at his own butler, thinking there's no way he can forget the humiliation from before. Kaido says that the only reason he isn't getting more respect is that his level is capped at 1500. But Yanak points out that he has already surpassed the normal level cap for elves. He refuses to accept this, saying that a master descendant like him is supposed to have limitless potential. Seeing his young master so frustrated, Yanak acts like he feels so much sympathy for him, saying that he also got exiled from his country because of his experiments on breaking their limits, as Kaido demands that he make him level up. Yanak grins creepily as he accepts his request. Kaido turns around, thinking he'll get rid of this crafty dark elf once he has used him to level up. Meanwhile, Light's party finishes butchering a group of trolls on the third floor. They decide to take the magic gems out of the monsters as proof of exploring the third floor before heading back. Noticing that her master got dirty from the fight, Nimemu offers to help him clean up. Once they fly back to the first floor, Light thinks they should start walking since Gold's bright armor attracts too much attention. However, they notice the weak party from earlier fighting some goblins. Gold notes that the party is strong enough to defeat the weak prey, but Light realizes that they missed a hidden enemy. As the young party turns around, they find Light pinning a bush snake with his staff. He reminds them to be careful since the snake could have paralyzed one of them and left them defenseless against the stronger monsters. Feeling grateful for Light's assistance, the kids thank him, but he suddenly gets serious after noticing another enemy. From a distance, a pack of dangerous bush wolves jumps out of the forest, shocking the kids. As they start panicking, Light tells them that the wolves mean no harm in front of of their eyes, the wolves simply avoid them and run away, horrified. The kids finally realizes that the real enemy Light mentioned wasn't the wolves, but a four-scythed mantis behemoth. That was episode 4. Subscribe to not miss the next part and watch the next video on screen.